Jungkook sighed, putting his hand down. He went inside his room in helper quarters. He noticed that his room's door was locked and the key is with his mom. He felt very thirsty, and the helpers and drivers are not allowed to eat or drink anything from the mansion. Jungkook sighed, going to the mansion to get key from his mother. He went towards the kitchen and he noticed his mother was not there. He saw a helper named Hannah. She is a good friend of his mother. Hannah auntie, you know where is my mother? Jungkook asked, looking around. Jungkook, Somi went to buy groceries, Hannah said, and Jungkook nodded his head. You want something, Kuka? Hannah asked. No thanks, auntie, see you later. Jungkook smiled, walking out of the mansion. Jungkook sighed and slid down in the back of a large tree, resting his head on his knees and closing his eyes. He gulped as his throat became dry from dehydration, not even noticing someone sitting beside him. Jungkook was startled to hear a voice all of a sudden. He looked up and saw Wyan sitting next to him, giggling at Jungkook's shocked face. Calm down, Jungkook, Wyan said with a soft smile. Jungkook felt his mind calm down at the sight of Wyan's smile. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Are you okay? Wyan asked again. Jungkook nodded. I am fine, he said. Here, drink this. I noticed that you didn't drink anything after your mind-blowing match, Wyan said, giving her orange juice bottle to Jungkook, but he refused to take it. No thanks, Miss Wyan. I'm not thirsty. Jungkook smiled, shaking his head. Call me Wyan. Just Wyan, and you need to drink this, Wyan said, pushing the water bottle into Jungkook's chest. At last, Jungkook nodded his head, taking the bottle from Wyan's hand. He drank half of the bottle in a go. He smiled, keeping the bottle down. And you said you were not thirsty, Wyan joked, making Jungkook scratch his nape, smiling shyly. And Jungkook, I wanted to say that you play soccer very well. Did you go to any classes? Wyan asked, and Jungkook shook his head, saying no. Back in Busan, there was a soccer ground near my house. I used to look at the students playing soccer, and somehow I got to know the rules just by looking at them. And no, I didn't go to any classes. It is self-taught. Jungkook smiled, showing his bunny teeth, making Wyan coo at his cute smile. You're so talented, Jungkook, Wyan said with a smile, taking her juice bottle. Jungkook's heart started to race and his palms became sweaty. So Jungkook, suddenly Wyan heard Youngjae's voice calling for her. Wyan's eyes widened in surprise as she heard Youngjae's voice calling for her. Jungkook felt his cheeks flush as Wyan hid her face in his neck. Jungkook couldn't believe that Kim Wyan was sitting on his lap. He had always admired Wyan from afar, but he had never thought that he would ever get the chance to be so close to her. Jungkook could hear Youngjae's footsteps getting closer and closer. He held his breath and closed his eyes. He hoped that Youngjae wouldn't find them. Wyan pulled back with a smile when she heard Youngjae's footsteps fading away. I hid from him because he is clingy. Wyan giggled, not noticing that she is actually sitting on Jungkook's lap. Okay, Jungkook, see you later. Wyan smiled, getting up from Jungkook's lap, walking towards her mansion. Jungkook closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Don't ever think about it, Jeon. She's Kim Wyan, daughter of the biggest business tycoon of South Korea. She won't fall for a poor boy like you. Jungkook chuckled humorlessly at his thought as he walked towards the helper quarters. Jungkook lay on the floor on a mat, his head resting on his arm. It was nearly 8 p.m. and he was trying to sleep, but it was difficult. The quarters were cramped and uncomfortable, and the floor was hard. He could hear the sounds of the other helpers moving around and talking, and it was very hard to relax. Jungkook smiled when he remembered Wyan calling his name in her angelic voice. He opened his eyes slowly, his smile widening when he thought about Wyan's beautiful smile. Beautiful, Jungkook mumbled and he closed his eyes again with a smile. As a cool breeze hit his face, he could feel the stress of the day melting away. I love you. Jungkook smiled, realizing that he is madly in love with Wyan, and it was love at first sight. Miss June came inside the quarters carrying a cotton cloth bag. What is this, Mom? Jungkook asked, looking at the bag. Jungkook, today Wyan was distributing clothes as a charity to her maids and helpers. Wyan gave some extra clothes to you compared to her other helpers. She is nice, right? Miss Jones said, taking out the clothes from the bag, looking at the new clothes in awe, because they looked kinda expensive. Miss Wyan gave expensive clothes to all of her helpers. She is so kind-hearted, right? Miss Jones smiled, and Jungkook nodded his head, walking out of the quarters. He was looking at the mansion, standing at a distance with a sad face. He saw Wyan was strolling in her garden, laughing with Yeonjae. Thank you for showing me my worth in your eyes, Wyan. A helper. And here I was thinking to spend my life with you. How stupid of me. Jungkook thought, wiping a single drop of tear which fell from his eye. Jungkook's heart ached when he realized that Wyan had never seen him as more than a helper. He took a deep breath as he walked back to the helper quarters. Next morning, Jungkook was standing in front of the mirror fixing his necktie. Mrs. John came towards her son holding a glass of banana milk. Whoa, my Jungkook looks so handsome in his new school uniform. Mrs. John smiled, pinching her son's cheek. Thank you, Mom. Of course I am, because I am your son. Jungkook winked playfully at his mother. I know I am beautiful, but stop flirting with me, because I am your mother. Mrs. John laughed, hitting Jungkook's back playfully. Here, drink this. Mrs. Jones smiled. Jungkook's eyes shined when he saw his favorite banana milk made by his mom. He grabbed that glass, drinking the whole thing in a go. Jungkook burped cutely, giving the glass back to Mrs. John. Stop drinking like a toddler, Cook. You're going to be an adult next year, Mrs. Jones said, wiping Jungkook's lips with her fingers. And Jungkook laughed cutely. So it is your high school's first day. Study well, Cook, but don't overwork yourself, okay? Mrs. Jones said, and Jungkook smiled, nodding his head, saying yes. He widened his eyes when he looked at his watch. God, Mom, I'm gonna miss the bus. I gotta go. Bye, Mom, Jungkook said, hugging his mother, running towards the door. I packed sandwich for you. Don't forget to eat, son, Miss Jones said with a sigh. Yes, Mom, Jungkook yelled, running out of the quarters. Wyan sighed sadly, looking at herself at the mirror, wearing her new uniform. You would have complimented me if you were there with me now, Mama, Wyan whispered, looking at her late mother's photo kept above her dressing table. Dad is so busy, and he didn't even bother to encourage me on my first day of high school. Well, I don't blame him. Because of him, I'm living this luxurious life today. Wyan chuckled humorlessly, wiping her tears. If you were here now, I'm sure you would have told me to take care of myself, eat food on time, make good friends and study well. Wyan mumbled, crying to herself. I crave for your love, Mom. I didn't get to feel Mother's love since you died. I miss you like crazy, Mom. I love you. Since you're not with me here, I made everyone my family here, but they still treat me professionally, not as their daughter. Am I that bad, Mama, that nobody loves me? Even you left me alone. Wyan cried loudly, keeping her mother's photo frame against her chest. Wyan's mansion was so big, and no one heard her crying her heart out.